Hey everyone, this is Debbie Happy Cohen with Goat Notes here. And today I wanted to talk about the real problem with being scapegoated. To me, it's a verb more than it is a noun. When people are scapegoated, they are being bullied. Um, so I don't like the label of scapegoat so much because it puts too much emphasis on the person who's already being victimized. The only thing that's really good about it is that if you have been scapegoated, it can help you get help. It can help you land on a page like this. So here's the thing. I believe that we're born into a universe that is so full and so full of love, and that we are actually made of love. We are made of the infinite beauty and joy and presence of the whole universe. We're like born of that. And our most innate desire is to share that and to connect with other people on that level. So I'm going to give an extreme example of the opposite and then bring it back here. So you know that if a baby isn't held, they will actually die. They could be fed, but then there's like this failure to thrive syndrome. You could look it up. It's babies die when they're not held. So what does this have to do with being scapegoated? Is because if you're a child and you've been scapegoated, and this is really who I want to talk to here. And usually if you look up in a narcissistic family, you'll find there's the narcissist, and there's my dog. His name is Hero. There's a narcissist. There's usually a spouse who's codependent, and then there are children who are a golden child and a scapegoat. Here's the thing: when you live in a narcissistic family and you're a child, the narcissist has a problem. The problem is that they are constantly feeling ashamed on the inside. So their whole entire life is about a cover-up for that. They need to cover that up. Everything is about how they look and how the family looks. And so it's tricky because if you're a child and you try to love the narcissist, they don't believe you. And so then you start confusing that because you're a kid and you're like, you want love. In order to survive, you need to know that you're loved. You need to know that you're cared for. You need to know that you have somebody protecting you. So if you're a child in a narcissistic family and you've been scapegoated, no matter what you do, your love will never be accepted. Because what the narcissist will do is that they project their shame onto the people in the family who've been scapegoated. There can be more than one. And they project their brilliance onto whoever they have as the golden child, the golden person. What's going on in their head is they think that they're crap. So if you go up to them and you're the one who's been scapegoated and you're like, I love you, they're like, I don't believe you. What are you up to? They're very suspicious. And if you're like, well, I think you're a jerk, they're like, see, you're against me and everybody's against me. So there is like this feeling of no winning. The problem happens when the person who's been scapegoated makes decisions about themselves. That's the problem. That is the only problem of, well, what do I need to do to be loved? I must not be lovable. I must really be bad. Or even if they go through their whole childhood of like, I don't believe you. That's not true. That's not true. They still have had to navigate and figure out how to maintain integrity with themselves. So the solution to this, there is a solution to this. There really is a solution to this. Because love is the greatest power in the universe. I really believe that. And I don't know how to talk about this without getting spiritual in some way. Because if I believed that our realities were limited to the imperfection of how our parents treated us, we'd really be screwed. When I look around and I see nature and I see beauty and I see what love does and what love is capable of, I know that that is bigger and huger and larger than anything that could possibly be a limitation of something that seems like it's blocking love. So one of the habits that scapegoated children can end up doing is trying to communicate their love to people who aren't capable of receiving it, or trying to prove themselves, or feeling bad about themselves and making decisions about themselves that are less than true, that are less than love. But if love is the greatest power in the universe and we are made of love, then the solution for people who've been scapegoated is to find places and people where the love in you and the brilliance in you is truly received. Something else I want to say, and I don't know if it should be a separate video, but I'm going to say it here. Maybe I'll say more in another video. While the person who is narcissistic is projecting their negativity onto others because they can't face it themselves, or they're not able to, or they don't, or whatever it is, I'm not going to debate about that. The person who's been scapegoated will often, especially if they're like, especially if they haven't gone into, doing the black sheep thing of, yeah, I'm just bad and, just watch my badness. Usually a lot of those people are some of the softest people on the planet. But let's say they haven't gone that route, and they really just want to create healing and goodness. One of the downfalls that they can find is that they actually project their goodness and their kindness and their love and their fullness of life onto people who are either abusive or who aren't receiving it. And that is something that can be controlled and that can be changed. So if you find yourself projecting your innocence, your goodness, your kindness onto people who either aren't receiving it or who don't want it, or who will use it to manipulate you and take you for granted, well, then you've got to get better at boundary setting and actually take that energy of projection and stop projecting it. Own it. Own your goodness. Own the love that's inside of you that's coming through. Find people who actually appreciate it and who appreciate you for who you are, because one of your greatest strengths is that you're able to recognize authenticity, and you're actually able to give that in a deeper way than a lot of other people, because you know where the pain is and you also know where the love is. So it sounds simple, and sometimes it can be tricky because you've been wired to believe just the exact opposite about yourself. You've been wired to project the goodness on others and not on yourself. So balance out your life. Find people who will recognize you in your authentic radiance, who will recognize the love in you, and learn to value it yourself. Learn to value it like it is life itself, because it is. And one of the things that I teach at Joy-Based Living in the 12 practices, in the ebook, the practices are like a workout. The 12 practices. And one of the sections is on boundary setting. The other sections are on really infusing your awareness with the radiance of joy of who you are. So that's why it's called Joy-Based Living. And it's called a beginner's guide because y'all who've been scapegoated, you're not alone. We're living in a society where joy has actually been scapegoated. Like, people don't want to really let themselves feel it. A lot of our most negative feelings and our most positive feelings have been rejected. Like, oh, you're weird if you feel too happy. You must be on drugs. Or, oh no, you're feeling powerless. Don't talk to me. Talk to the hand. I can't handle that. So we reject it. We don't like those things. But people who've been scapegoated have already seen, especially if they're children, when they experienced it, they've already seen the darkness of the dark. So the gifts that they have to bring now to the table of humanity are just freaking huge. So people, own it, own it, own it, own it. That's my message for you today. And thank you for being here with me on Goat Notes. Okay, bye everyone. Close. Yes, and